Have you ever felt like, in just a single second, your whole world collapses? One moment everything seems calm, and the next, the blaring horns of traffic, bad news, or a person who knows exactly how to push your buttons sends everything spiraling. The world feels like it's rebelling, and you're stuck in the middle of a storm of racing, chaotic thoughts. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it so difficult to stay calm? Why does it feel like your own mind is working against you? The world isn't necessarily more chaotic than before. The problem lies in a hard truth: if you don't control your mind, it will control you. But what if I told you there's a path, one that some of the wisest people in history have walked, to find peace even in the middle of a storm? A philosophy that teaches us true calm doesn't depend on what happens outside, but on how we choose to respond within. That path is called Stoicism. Today, I'm going to show you how to train your mind to stay calm, even in your most chaotic moments. Because in the end, no matter what happens around you, you only have two options: control your mind, or be enslaved by it. But before we get into that, let me tell you a story about Thomas, a 33-year-old man with a life that was, by most standards, stable: a job, a family, friends, nothing particularly extraordinary, except for one dangerously overlooked habit: he bottled everything up. Work stress, careless remarks, small and big disappointments. Thomas never spoke up, never complained, acting like nothing was wrong. But inside, his mind was like a hornet's nest, always buzzing and restless. Every evening when he got home, it took the smallest, pettiest things to set him off: noisy neighbors, mail arriving late, the toaster breaking down, little issues that instantly ignited his bottled-up frustration. Then, on one hot summer night, everything boiled over. All it took was a single sentence from his partner: "You're always angry." And boom, yelling, doors slamming, accusations flying across the room. But what matters isn't the argument itself, it's what happened after. Thomas stormed out, slammed the door behind him, and wandered the streets for hours. As dawn broke, he sat down on a park bench. Lost in thought, almost unconsciously, he pulled out his phone and opened YouTube. And the very first video on his feed carried this phrase: "You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond." It was a video about Stoicism, a term he'd never heard before. It sounded unfamiliar, maybe even odd, but with nothing left to lose, Thomas hit play, and in that moment, everything began to change. That night, he didn't sleep. He devoured video after video. Read about Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and for the first time in his life, something clicked. These weren't just pretty quotes. They were painful, liberating truths. He realized it's not events themselves that upset us, but our opinions about them. That the more power something holds over you, the weaker you are in front of it. That you can choose not to be hurt, and by doing so, you won't be. Thomas learned something no one had ever taught him: calm isn't a gift. It's a skill you train, day after day. From that moment on, Thomas started changing. Before reacting, he would pause and take a deep breath. Before complaining, he would observe. When his chest felt tight, he'd go for a walk. Of course, it wasn't perfect. He still slipped up sometimes. But now, he understood that he didn't have to open the door when anger came knocking. Little by little, without anyone really noticing, Thomas became a different person. And that was the beginning of the journey I want to share with you today. To discover how people like Thomas find peace in the midst of chaos. Let's move on to the next part. Thomas realized that peace doesn't come from the outside world, but from how we take control of what's happening inside. And you know what? You might not be Thomas, but I'm sure you've had moments just like him. Moments where you wished you could be that calm person. The one who doesn't react to every little thing. Someone who doesn't need to raise their voice to prove a point. Someone who understands that real control isn't about showing it off, it's something you feel deep inside. Maybe you're not Thomas, but you've definitely had times when your mind dragged you to places you didn't want to go. You set out to stay calm, but a careless comment or a tiny incident was enough to throw you off balance. And just like Thomas, you're about to discover a truth: peace doesn't come when everything around you is perfect, it comes when you find steadiness within yourself. Today, I'm going to show you how to build that. How to stop depending on traffic, your boss, the weather, or other people's moods to feel at peace. Today, you'll learn how to train your mind to stay calm, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. And trust me, if Thomas could do it, so can you. Before we dive deeper, if this video is bringing you value, consider subscribing and becoming part of this growing community. Drop a comment and tell us, what's one thing you'll do today to take back control of your mind? Or simply type, "I'm a Stoic," because we want to grow alongside you. Now, let me ask you something. Who's really in charge here, you or your mind? Let me guess. You've had those days where it feels like your own mind is working against you. You wake up ready to conquer the day, but one little thing goes wrong, and everything unravels. You send the wrong email, and suddenly that little voice whispers, "You're a failure." Someone throws out a rude comment, and you spend the next 30 minutes in your head thinking of clever comebacks. Or worse, someone cuts you off in traffic, and now you're angrier than when your team lost the Champions League final. That's what happens when you let your mind run wild. It's like an untamed horse, charging in every direction without aim. And if you don't learn to hold the reins, it'll drag you through the mud without a second thought. It doesn't matter if your goal is to stay calm, make smarter decisions, or simply live with less stress. If you don't take charge of your mind, it will absolutely take charge of you. Picture this: you're sitting in a meeting. Everything's fine, conversation's smooth, you're relaxed. Suddenly, someone drops a sharp comment, a backhanded joke aimed right at you. It hits like a jab to the ego. Your blood boils, your heart races, and your head floods with witty comebacks. But wait, is that really necessary? Or is it just your mind reacting on autopilot? This is the exact moment you need to remember what Epictetus, the ancient Stoic philosopher, said centuries ago. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but the meaning we attach to them. Think about it. Was that comment truly that bad? Or is it the story you're telling yourself about it? Let's say someone tells you, "You could have done that better." You have two choices here. If you let your mind spiral into panic, you'll translate it as, "I'm incompetent." But if you stay in control, you'll realize, it's just feedback. A chance to do better. And this, right here, is where we start exploring how to train your mind. How to manage those knee-jerk reactions before they control you. Stick around, because in the next part, I'll show you exactly how the Stoics stayed calm in the middle of chaos. In the previous part, we talked about controlling our reactions and how our mind often loves to blow small things out of proportion, turning harmless moments into full-blown disasters. Now, let's move on to a situation I'm sure you've experienced before. You know that feeling, when someone casually says, "You could have done better," and instantly your mind spirals into overdrive. Suddenly, you're digging through every mistake you've made over the past few months, drowning yourself in self-doubt. A simple, harmless comment, yet your mind twists it into a harsh, personal attack. But what if you gave it a different meaning? What if, instead of taking it as a criticism, you treated it as a neutral observation? Or better yet, as an opportunity to improve? See, The words don't change, the difference lies in how you choose to interpret them. And the real problem is, most of the time, we don't even notice our mind is playing tricks on us. It's instinct. That primitive part of your brain, the amygdala, is wired to detect threats in a split second. Within milliseconds, it fires up your defense system. The issue is, your brain can't tell the difference between a lion about to pounce and a snide remark from someone at work. To your brain, danger is danger, and that's exactly why you need to train it. Calm doesn't appear by magic. It's built, it's strengthened, it becomes a habit. So how do you take control? Let me give you 3 incredibly simple but powerful steps. Step 1. Use the 3-second pause. Whenever something triggers you, stop, take a deep breath and count. 1, 2, 3. That tiny pause gives your rational brain just enough time to step in before your instincts take over. Step 2. Rewrite the story you're telling yourself. Instead of thinking, "They disrespected me, I need to strike back," tell yourself, "This isn't worth my energy." It sounds simple, but you'll be amazed at how fast it changes the way you feel and act. And step 3. Activate observer mode. Imagine you're watching this situation from a distance. Like it's a movie. What would the wisest, calmest character in history do? Would they lose their cool over something so minor? Of course not, and neither should you, my friend, if you don't control your mind. Sooner or later those automatic reactions will. And most of the time, those knee-jerk reactions are the ones that hurt you the most. So, the next time anger, frustration, or fear comes knocking, remember, the reins are in your hands. It's up to you whether you hold tight or let your mind run wild. And speaking of anger, let's dive deeper into this emotion next. Because it's one of those feelings that can destroy everything in seconds if you don't handle it well. Ready? Let's move on. In the last part, we talked about how impulsive reactions can snatch control from your hands in an instant. And if you don't take the wheel back, your emotions will gladly drive for you. So, what do you do when anger suddenly rises and tries to take over? The answer is simple, but not always easy. You let it pass without grabbing onto it. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor discovered something fascinating. Biologically, anger only lasts about 90 seconds. Surprised? Just 90 seconds. Honestly, some YouTube ads last longer than that. But here's the real issue. In those 90 seconds, most of us feed the anger. We replay what happened, imagine what we should have said, dwell on how unfair it was. And before we even realize it, one tiny minute of anger turns into hours, days, even weeks of resentment and mental exhaustion. So, here's a challenge for you. The next time you feel that heat rising in your chest, do absolutely nothing, just notice it. Acknowledge its presence. Count to 90 and breathe. If you don't cling to it, you'll be amazed how it fades on its own, like a passing cloud. And remember, anger is physical too. You feel it in the tightness of your muscles, in your shallow, rapid breaths, in that tension building in your chest. If you stay still, it accumulates like pressure in a sealed pot. And eventually, it explodes at the worst possible moment. Ever tried clenching your fists tightly and then slowly releasing them? It might seem like a small, meaningless act, but doing something physical takes power away from that overwhelming impulse and returns control to you. Another simple trick. Ask yourself this one question: will this even matter a week from now? In the moment, everything feels huge, dramatic, unbearable. But with a little distance, you'll often realize it wasn't worth your peace at all. So, the next time someone pushes your buttons, picture yourself a week from now, looking back at this situation. If future you wouldn't care, why should you waste energy on it now? Think about it. If anger truly solved problems, then people who shout, slam doors, and bang on tables would be the happiest, most successful people on the planet. But clearly, they're not. The smartest move will always be to redirect that energy into something that genuinely matters. Something that builds you up rather than tears you down. So the next time your mind wants to slam the gas pedal and speed straight into chaos without brakes, remember, you are the one holding the wheel. Up next, let's talk about a truth that's often misunderstood. Calm isn't a weakness. It's a strength reserved for those who truly lead themselves. Ready to hear why? Let's keep going. In the last section, we uncovered a simple but powerful truth. Calm isn't weakness, it's strength. And it's what allows you to lead when others are losing control. Now, let's build on that idea. Because it isn't just ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius who understood this. Modern thinkers see it too. Simon Sinek, one of today's most respected leadership experts, says something strikingly similar. He believes that real leaders aren't the ones who shout the loudest or try to dominate a room with force. No, true leaders are the ones who stay steady in the middle of chaos. When the pressure rises, when the room feels like it's closing in, they're the ones who keep a clear head and instinctively know what to do next. And this doesn't just apply to executives running companies or generals commanding armies. It matters just as much in your everyday life, in your home, at work, even in awkward conversations with friends. The person who stays calm, who holds steady while others panic, always ends up leading the rest. Why? Because that kind of calm is contagious. It sends a message without saying a word. I've got this. And people naturally follow those who radiate that sense of control. But here's the important part, you're not born with this skill. It isn't some rare talent reserved for a chosen few. It's something you build, through awareness, practice, and discipline. And when you start to master it, it changes everything. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're in the middle of a frustrating negotiation with your landlord. There's mold on the ceiling. It's affecting your health, and he's getting defensive the moment you bring it up. Your first instinct might be to cut him off. Raise your voice, maybe even slam your hand on the table. That's the easy path. But here's where the real difference happens. If instead, you stay calm, speak firmly without letting anger creep into your tone, you don't just hold on to your dignity, you actually gain authority. People don't see you as weak. They see you as someone who knows exactly what they want and has the discipline to get it without losing control. So how do you train that kind of steady, unshakable calm, the kind that really counts when life gets messy? First, learn to take strategic pauses. When emotions flare up, don't rush to fill the silence. Give yourself a moment. Often, a brief pause holds more weight than a long speech. It makes people stop, rethink, and realize you're not someone they can rattle. Second, control the rhythm of your voice. You don't have to shout to be heard. In fact, the louder you get, the less people tend to listen. But someone who speaks slowly, clearly, and without hesitation, that person commands attention. Calm has a volume all its own. And third, master what the Stoics called the steady gaze. That calm, composed look that doesn't flinch at anger, doesn't bristle at insults, and doesn't show fear. It simply watches. Because when someone tries to provoke you and you respond with that steady, unaffected stare, they're disarmed. They came expecting an outburst. What they get is your peace. Never forget, in the middle of chaos, the one who moves the slowest, who stays composed, is often the most dangerous. Calm is a strategy, a shield, and a source of power. It separates those who react from those who lead. And if you can hold on to that calm, if you can steady yourself while the world shakes, you're already winning. No matter the outcome. Because here's the harsh reality most people refuse to admit. Life isn't fair. And so what if it's not? Sure, it doesn't sound nice, but it's the truth. Life doesn't hand out rewards based on effort alone. You can work twice as hard, be twice as kind, sacrifice more than anyone else, and still see someone else get ahead by luck, by cheating, or because they knew the right person. Is it unfair? Absolutely. Can you change it? Unfortunately, no. But what you can control is how you respond. And as you've seen so far, clinging to anger, drowning in complaints, or stewing in frustration only makes your mind more chaotic. The one thing you must train, especially when life treats you unfairly, is your ability to stay calm. I recently heard a story about a woman named Marta. She'd worked as an admin assistant for over 10 years, responsible, punctual, flawless at her job. She applied for a promotion, one she was clearly qualified for. But the position went to someone who'd only been there 6 months, and just happened to be related to the boss. It stung. Of course it did. Marta felt invisible. But what could she do? Demand that life be fair? Yell at her boss? Slam doors? Storm out? And complain to anyone who'd listen? No. Marta remembered something Epictetus wrote centuries ago. Don't ask for things to happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do. And you'll find peace. And for her, that wasn't just a pretty quote to post on social media. It was a mindset that changed the way she faced unfairness. Now, what happened next in Marta's story, and how she turned that pain into power, is something you'll want to hear. Let's get into it. In the previous part, we saw how Marta chose calm over chaos. She refused to let life's unfairness steal her peace. And that decision changed the course of her story. Now, let's look a little deeper into why that mindset matters, not just for her, but for you too. For Marta, that ancient wisdom became her compass. A reminder she could turn to whenever life didn't go the way she hoped. Because, really, asking life to be fair is like getting angry at the rain for making you wet. You can shout at the sky, complain about how unfair the weather is, but the rain keeps falling anyway. You're still getting soaked. Or, you can open your umbrella, accept what's happening, and keep moving forward. It's your choice. And Marta made hers. She didn't stay trapped in frustration over something she couldn't control. She chose to act from a place of calm, steady herself, and focus on what she could do next. And you know what? That's exactly when her path started to shift. Today, Marta works at a new company, one where her talents are noticed, where she's not only appreciated but trusted enough to train new employees. Now, did that past injustice disappear as if it never happened? Of course not. But here's the key: she didn't let it poison her peace of mind. She didn't give that unfair moment the power to shape her future. Now, take a second and put yourself in Marta's shoes. Or better yet, think back to a moment in your own life when something similar happened to you. Maybe you spent months chasing a scholarship you didn't get. Or you poured your heart and soul into a project, only to watch someone else take the credit. Perhaps you spoke your truth in a conversation, hoping for understanding, and instead got rejection. Your mind, in moments like those, screams at you, "It's not fair. This isn't right." It urges you to explode, to demand justice, to drown in anger. But here's the harsh truth: if you let yourself get dragged into that storm, you lose. You lose your clarity, you lose your energy, and worst of all, you lose control over yourself. So here's a simple but powerful challenge for you. Try the acceptance challenge for just one day. See what happens when you make the decision not to complain, not about traffic, not about your boss, not about the weather, not even about the small annoyances that sneak in. Just observe, accept, and place your focus on what's within your control. It might sound too easy or even a little silly at first. But trust me, your mind will notice the shift. Little by little, it stops chasing after things it can't control. The inner storm quiets down. And you'll feel it, that rare calm. Steady presence starting to take root. And if acceptance feels too hard sometimes, then believe in something, anything, that helps you let go of control. Call it fate, destiny, the universe, or life's grand plan. Or, for a bit of humor, imagine having a Stoic GPS in your head. Turn right, your boss was unfair, keep going straight, don't stop here, trust the route, all will make sense in time. Because let's be honest, sometimes the only way to stay sane in a chaotic world is to believe there's some invisible pattern behind it all, something bigger than us keeping score in ways we may never see. And if there's one lesson you take from this, let it be this: peace comes when you stop wasting energy resisting what you can't change. Life won't always treat you as you deserve, but you'll always have the power to decide how you respond. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's one situation you faced that felt completely unfair? How did you handle it? Share your story. Let's support each other, because this isn't just a video. It's a space to connect, to learn, and to grow. And speaking of growth, let's take a look at one of the biggest traps that makes people lose control in the first place. It's not what you'd expect. In the last part, we talked about how your peace of mind is yours to protect. No one can steal it unless you let them. Now, let's unpack why some people seem to stay cool under pressure while others fall apart. Spoiler alert, it's not a superpower. It's a decision. You see, it's not that a few lucky people are born with an unshakable calm. It's that they choose, moment after moment, to think differently. And here's the good news, you can make that choice too. Because no one, absolutely no one on this planet, has the power to take away your inner peace unless you willingly hand it over. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said it best. He reminded us that it's not enough to be insulted or harmed, you must also believe you've been harmed. Meaning what? It's never the comment, the side-eye glance, or the careless gesture that hurts you. It's what your mind does with it afterward. That's where it either becomes your enemy or your greatest ally. It all begins there, in how you choose to interpret what's happening. And make no mistake, if you leave your mind untrained, it will react for you. That ancient, primal part of your brain called the amygdala will fire off like an alarm. Before you know it, you're snapping back with sarcasm, raising your voice, or emotionally shutting down. But if you grab the reins early, you can pause that reaction before it ruins your day. Let me share a technique that's saved me more times than I can count. I call it emotional airplane mode. Think of how you switch your phone to airplane mode, instantly cutting off signals from the outside world. Well, you can do the same thing with your emotions. Picture this: when someone says something irritating or disrespectful, instead of reacting instantly, you mentally hit that invisible button. Suddenly, everything goes quiet, the emotional noise drops, and you give yourself a small but powerful pause. And in that space, you get to decide, is this even worth a response? Or should I just let it pass like a cloud in the sky? Trust me, I've tested this in the real world. Family dinners? Oh, there's always someone who can't help but comment on how you look. Have you lost weight? You look exhausted. You should eat more. Those words used to stick with me all day. I'd replay them in my head, feel my mood shift, and carry that bitterness around like extra baggage. But now, the moment I feel that sting, I switch to emotional airplane mode. I take a breath, I stay quiet, and I refuse to let that random comment decide how I feel for the rest of the evening. And the beautiful part? It works. The person on the other side waits for your reaction. And when you don't give them one, their power over you disappears. Another trick I've learned: ask yourself this simple question in those moments. Do I really want to give this person control over my mood? Just thinking that triggers a calmer, wiser part of your brain. And that's when you'll notice calm begins to win. Because let's be honest, if we exploded every time someone annoyed us, we'd be walking volcanoes with dangerously high blood pressure. And you, my friend, aren't here to live like that. You're here to stay steady, to grow, and to master yourself. So next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember, losing your temper isn't something that happens to you. It's a choice you make. And you can always choose differently. And speaking of choices, there's one more simple, powerful tool you can use to steady yourself when life gets overwhelming. And it's been right under your nose this whole time. Let's talk about that next. In the previous part, we talked about choosing to stay calm when faced with unpleasant situations and how to manage emotions with an emotional airplane mode. But let's be honest, there will be moments when, no matter how hard you try, your mind keeps racing like a roller coaster, looping through one anxious thought after another. You don't even know why you're this stressed. And you certainly don't know how to stop it. But, what if, right at that moment, you knew how to take control of your mind again? What if you had a hidden reset button you could press just when everything feels like it's spiraling out of control? Believe me, the secret lies in something surprisingly simple: move your body. Sounds random? It's not. This isn't something I made up on a whim. A study published in Lancet Psychiatry showed that people who engage in regular physical activity reduce their risk of severe stress by up to 43%. That's huge, isn't it? It's like having an invisible shield protecting you from daily anxiety storms. And it makes perfect sense. When you're stuck inside your own head, the last thing you need is to keep thinking. What you really need is to return to your body. Feel your feet grounded, take a deep breath, move your muscles, step out of that mental hurricane with something as simple as a walk. Centuries ago, the philosopher Seneca recommended walking to clear the mind and think more calmly. He left us a line I truly love: no wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where they're going. What does that mean? It means that if you're caught in a mental storm without holding the wheel, no wind will take you somewhere good. But the moment you take one single step forward, you're already changing the direction of that wind. So, if one day your mind starts dragging you through stress and tension, don't just sit there drowning in your thoughts. Get up and move. Even a few minutes will do. Go for a mindful walk. No phone, no music, just you, your steps, and the world around you. Notice the trees, the color of the sky, the sounds nearby. It feels like slowly finding your way back to yourself. Or try something else, shake it off. Yes, literally. Move your arms, legs, neck, shake your body as if you're brushing the stress away. It might feel silly at first, but trust me, after a couple of minutes, it's like you've taken off a heavy coat made of concrete. If you're short on time, stretch like a cat. You've seen how cats stretch when they wake up, right? They extend their bodies long, yawn, and move every part of themselves. Do the same. Stretch your arms, your neck, your back. In just 2 minutes, you can feel more relief than you would by forcing yourself to think 10 positive thoughts. Because honestly, when your mind is screaming that everything's falling apart, if you can keep your body calm and steady, at least the rest of you won't panic along with it. And on the toughest days, that alone is a victory. So remember this: when your mind is in chaos, stop thinking and start moving. You'll feel the difference, because in the end, only calm will take you where you truly want to go. And sometimes, that calm doesn't start in your head, it starts in your feet. Up next, we'll dive into something fascinating: those strange moments when everything seems fine. Yet your mind suddenly stirs up an odd, uneasy feeling, like peace itself feels suspicious. Why does our mind do this to us? Let's find out. You probably remember, in the last part, we talked about how, when your mind is in chaos, the best thing you can do is stop overthinking and simply move. Something as simple as walking can act like a reset button, helping you regain your calm. And now, we're going to dive a little deeper into how people from the past, especially Seneca, dealt with emotional storms. He was like a man who carried an invisible shield. Seneca once said, "The more power something has over you, the weaker you are in front of it." And he didn't say this to sound clever. He had lived through it. A man who advised emperors, witnessed betrayals, faced exile, and survived death threats. And through it all, he kept choosing calm. Can you picture it? It's as if Seneca had an emotional switch sewn into his toga. Someone tried to provoke him, and with total composure, he'd flip that inner switch to serene mode. No drama, no explosions, just control. Today, psychology calls this emotional regulation. And here's the thing, it's not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you train. Those people you see who always stay calm, who keep their cool even when everything falls apart. They weren't born with some special chip. They've messed up too. They've reacted badly before, but over time, they've learned how to respond instead of react. I bet you know someone like that too. Right? That one friend who, even in the middle of a heated argument, calmly sips their coffee and answers like it's nothing. Sometimes, it almost feels like they live on a different frequency. And you wonder, how do they do it? The truth is, they've realized that calm isn't a reward. It's a choice, and losing it doesn't solve anything. Personally, one thing that's helped me a lot is something I call my emotional plan B. What is it? It's deciding ahead of time how I want to respond when a tense situation comes up. I know it's easier said than done. The world will always throw people and situations at you that test your limits. But when you already have a plan for your emotions, you're so much more likely to stay steady. You can also create your own calm zone. And no, it doesn't have to be a room full of candles and Zen music, unless that's your thing. It could be as simple as putting on a calming song, taking a short walk, reading for a bit, or writing down what you're feeling. It's your mental refuge, a place to return to when life gets too loud. And every time I feel like I'm about to boil over, there's one phrase I repeat to myself: I can be part of the problem. Or part of the solution. It helps me pause, right there in the moment, and choose which one I want to be. And the moment I choose calm, everything starts to shift. My friend, your mind will always try to pull you in 100 directions. It'll push you to react, to yell, to worry about things that haven't even happened yet. But only you decide if you're going to play that game. Only you choose whether you get swept away or plant your feet firmly on the ground. And if calm is an option, always available and waiting for you, then why not choose it more often? Because the more you choose it, the easier it gets to return to it. And the easier it gets, the freer you'll feel. Up next, we'll talk about something even deeper. You are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to do next. Sounds familiar, right? But wait until you hear the story of someone truly extraordinary, someone whose life will inspire you beyond words. Let's get to that in the next part. Remember what we talked about earlier. Real power isn't in what happens to you. It's in how you choose to respond. And now, let me continue this story for you. You see, Brian didn't step into the spotlight hoping for pity. He wasn't chasing sympathy with sad eyes or tragic stories. Instead, he showed up with humor, with boundless creativity, and with a raw, unfiltered authenticity that people couldn't help but admire. And the result? Today, millions of people follow him. But it didn't stop there. Brian went beyond social media and walked straight into the world of cinema. A place where few believed someone like him could thrive. And yet, he not only earned the respect of the industry, but was also nominated for the prestigious Goya Award for Best New Actor. Do you see it now? Brian didn't get to choose his body. He didn't choose the challenges life threw his way. But what he did choose, and this made all the difference, was how he responded. And that single decision rewrote his entire story. Brian isn't what happened to him. He's what he did with it. And my friend, that is exactly what you can do too. Because the true strength of a mind isn't measured by what it endures, but by what it dares to do next. The kind of mind that refuses to collapse. That keeps standing even when the world says it's impossible. Like the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said so clearly, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And in that choice lies your power. Because if what happens to you defines who you are, then every mistake, every heartbreak, every failure would doom you. You'd be trapped in an endless loop of regret. But if it's what you do next that defines you, then there's always a path forward. There's always a reason to get back up. Think about it. If our worst experiences truly defined us, most of us would be the villains in our own stories, shaped by betrayals, harsh words, and painful moments. We'd be throwing things across the room like characters in a drama series. But of course, that's not how it works. What truly defines you is what you choose to do after the storm has passed. Imagine this: your closest friend, the one you trusted most, breaks a promise and shares a secret you asked them to keep. A secret that leaves you exposed, vulnerable, and maybe even costs you an important relationship. Your world crumbles. Waves of anger, heartbreak, and endless questions crash over you. And in that very moment, your mind starts spinning in every direction. If you let those thoughts drag you around, you'll only deepen the pain. You'll scream, seek revenge, shut down, and trap yourself in a cycle of bitterness. But there's another way, and it begins with something as simple as a pen and a piece of paper. Write down 3 things you could do in that situation. It doesn't matter if they seem tiny, ridiculous, or impossible. The very act of looking for solutions pulls you out of victim mode and into action mode. It reminds you that you still have a say in what comes next. And one more thing, stop labeling everything that happens to you. Sometimes, what feels like a disaster today could be the very thing that pushes you to achieve something incredible tomorrow. That friend's betrayal? It might be the wake-up call you needed to focus on yourself, to grow stronger, and to surround yourself with people who truly have your back. So, every time life stings, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Don't let your mind chain you to what's already happened or to what didn't go the way you planned. Because in the end, if you're not defined by what happens to you, but by what you do, then what kind of story will you write with what you have right now? That story, your story, starts the very moment you decide not to give up. And to do that, you need a strong mind, a steady heart, and most importantly, a calm one. And here's a little secret: mastering your calm starts with something so simple, yet so powerful, your breath. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how the way you breathe can shape the way you handle every moment life throws at you. Ready for it? Just a moment ago, we talked about how mastering your breath is the first step to mastering your mind. Because in the middle of chaos, it's not your thoughts that save you, it's your calm. And that calm starts with how you breathe. You see, when you lose control of your breathing, it's like your entire body hits maximum alert for things that honestly don't deserve that kind of reaction. The heart races, the muscles tense, and in that instant, the mind gets dragged along for the ride. It speeds up, gets cloudy, and turns small problems into disasters. Everything feels worse than it really is. But here's the good news: if you can take control of your breathing, you can start taking back control of your mind too. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's wisest leaders, wrote it plainly in his Meditations: if you are troubled by something external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it. And you can change that judgment at any time. And you know what? The fastest way to change that judgment isn't by thinking harder. It's through breathing, because when your breath is steady and calm, your judgment naturally follows. Your reactions slow down. The storm inside your head begins to clear. Just the other day, I was listening to a podcast by Jefferson Fisher, a lawyer, communicator, and expert in emotional management. What he shared completely hooked me. He explained the power of pausing to breathe before responding in tense, high-stakes situations. Like inside a courtroom, he painted a vivid picture of how some lawyers deliberately ask tricky, loaded questions designed to catch you off guard and push you into reacting without thinking. Picture it: someone corners you with a question like, "So, would you agree that you saw the car parking? But because you were in a hurry, you chose not to wait and hit it?" The natural instinct would be to blurt out defensively, "No, that's not true." But Jefferson suggests something smarter, something powerful. Stop, breathe, look him straight in the eye, and then, with a steady, collected voice, simply reply, "No, that's not true." Notice the difference? It's not just about what you say. It's about how you say it. The person who breathes, pauses, and responds calmly, that's the one who owns the room. That's the one in control. And the beautiful thing is, you can do this too. The next time you find yourself in the heat of an argument, in a stressful meeting, or even just when life feels like it's crashing down on you, remember Fisher's advice. Take a breath before you answer. Give yourself 2 seconds, just 2. It might feel like nothing, but those 2 seconds could be the difference between losing control and taking charge. And if you're alone, at home, with your mind racing in 1,000 directions, there's a simple technique many clinical psychologists recommend to instantly calm your nervous system. It's called the 4-7-8 breathing method. Here's how it works. Inhale gently for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 7. And then exhale slowly, completely, for 8. Repeat this cycle 4 times. It's like dousing the fire inside you, calming both your body and your mind at once. You see, you can't let your thoughts toss you around like a leaf caught in the wind every time life gets tough. Only calm can lead you where you truly want to go. And your breath is the doorway to that calm. So, here's a little challenge for you. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need soft music. And you don't even have to move. Right now, wherever you are, just breathe consciously for 1 full minute. Inhale slowly, exhale even slower. Pay attention to how it feels. And when you're done, drop a comment and tell me, did you feel a shift? Did something inside you settle? Because sometimes, it's the smallest actions that open the biggest doors. And speaking of doors, let's talk about another trap that keeps most people stuck: obsessing over the past or worrying about the future. Ever feel like you're either replaying old mistakes or stressing about things that haven't even happened yet? In the next part, we'll dive into why that habit quietly sabotages your peace, and how the Stoics had a simple, powerful remedy for it. Ready to find out? Let's go. In the last part, we saw how the mind loves to drag us into the past or fling us into the future, leaving us disconnected from the only place we have any real control, the present moment. And if you let it, your mind will keep spinning those loops endlessly. Think about it. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, had sat on his throne obsessing over every decision. What if I shouldn't have sent those troops? What if passing that law wasn't the smartest move? If he had let those thoughts take over, he would have been paralyzed by doubt while the empire crumbled around him. And the truth is, most people today are living in that exact same mental trap. They spend their days stuck in a loop of what-ifs. What if I'd chosen a different career? What if this bad thing happens again? What if I lose everything I've built? But pause for a second and ask yourself, what's the point of worrying about something you can't change? Or something that hasn't even happened yet? The mind, if left unchecked, is a master at leading you down winding roads that go absolutely nowhere. And here's where anxiety and sadness quietly creep in. Anxiety about what might go wrong tomorrow. Sadness about what didn't turn out the way you hoped yesterday. Meanwhile, as your mind bounces back and forth between those two places, you completely miss the one thing you actually have power over: what's happening right now. Right in front of you. Let me paint you a familiar picture. You've had a tough day. You're frustrated because your mum insists on organizing your child's birthday party her way. As if your opinion doesn't count. You've held it in all day long, swallowing your irritation. Then, in a moment of impulse, you grab your phone and start typing out a long message to your partner, pouring out everything you're feeling. But the worst happens. You hit send, and realize you sent it to your mum by mistake. Just 1 second, and it's done. You see the little online status pop up. She's read it. Now your mind goes wild. Why did I do that? What if she's furious? What if this wrecks our relationship? But here's the thing, you're not actually stuck because of the message. You're stuck because your mind won't stop torturing you about it. And in moments like that, the only way out is to come back to the present. Because no amount of obsessing will unsend that message. The only thing you have control over is what you choose to do right now. So how do you pull yourself out of that spiral? Start with a simple tool called a mental anchor. It could be anything: a small bracelet, a coin in your pocket, a stone you carry around. Every time you feel your thoughts drifting to the past or racing ahead into the future, reach for that object. Feel it in your hand. Let it be a physical reminder that you are here, now, and this moment is the only one that matters. Next, try a 1-minute reset. Just 60 seconds. Focus entirely on what's around you. Notice what you're doing. Listen to the sounds in the room. Pay attention to your breath. It's like hitting a reset button in your brain. It snaps you out of the mental loop and brings you back to center. And finally, ask yourself one clear question: what can I do to fix this? Not to explain yourself, not to drown in guilt, but to act. If there's something you can do, do it. If not, let it go and move on. Don't let your mind drag you by the hand through every dark alley of fear and regret it can imagine. Because only calm, steady, grounded calm will lead you to the life you actually want. And that calm can only be found right here in the present. Now, get ready, because what's coming next might surprise you. It's not some complicated technique or ancient philosophy. It's something much simpler, something you can do anytime, anywhere, with whatever's right in front of you. And yes, it might be exactly what your restless, overthinking mind has been needing. Let's talk about it. In the previous part, we talked about how, when your mind gets tangled in loops of anxiety and regret, sometimes the simplest way to break free is to return to the present moment. And surprisingly, one of the most effective ways to do that isn't some complex philosophy or thick book, it lies right here. In your hands. Think about it. Day after day, it's the same thing: endless thoughts, constant notifications, and even more thoughts crowding your mind. Who wouldn't feel overwhelmed if you never step out of that mental chaos? But fortunately, there's a way out, and no, it's not on social media or buried in philosophy books. It's right here, in your hands. As Epictetus once said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And to live that philosophy often means acting. It means pulling yourself out of endless thinking and into doing. He believed that worry is defeated by movement. Because if you stay trapped in your thoughts, you're only digging yourself deeper into a hole. But when you do something tangible, something physical, you send a clear message to your mind: I'm in charge here. And it's not just the Stoics who believed this. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, yes, the one with the tongue-twister name, discovered something fascinating in his research about the flow state. That moment when time seems to disappear. Your mind quiets down, and all that exists is the thing you're doing. And you know what kinds of activities usually lead to that peaceful, focused state? Simple things like painting, cooking, molding clay, handwriting, activities that require attention and physical movement. Even during World War II, in the middle of chaos, constant danger, and daily fear, many soldiers spent their free time doing hands-on work. They carved wood, repaired objects, even hand-stitched fabrics. It might have seemed trivial, almost childlike, but it had a deep impact. It wasn't just a distraction, it was a way to find stability when everything else felt unstable. The results were remarkable. Those who engaged in these simple, physical activities showed far fewer symptoms of PTSD, less anxiety, more clarity, more control, while others were stuck in traumatic memories or quietly falling apart. They found calm in creating something with their hands. And you can too, when your mind feels like a tangled mess. Try the paper therapy. No, you don't need to be an artist. Just draw, color, scribble anything while your favorite music plays in the background. And you'll see, without even realizing it, the mental fog starts to lift. Or go even simpler, grab some modeling clay. Like you did as a kid. Squeeze it, shape it, roll it into balls. Whatever you want, let your hands take over. And your brain will naturally slow down. Honestly, if the ancient Stoics had modeling clay, maybe they would have reached an even higher state of wisdom. Another idea: head to the kitchen. But this time, no phone, no recipe, just you, your ingredients, and your hands. Knead, chop, mix, turn it into a ritual. A small way to reconnect with yourself. Because when you're elbow deep in flour or peeling carrots, you're not thinking about bills or drama. You're fully present, you're alive. And in that moment, peace finds you. Don't let your mind drag you down dark, endless roads without giving yourself a chance to stop. Because sometimes, calm doesn't come from meditating or thinking harder. It comes from moving your hands, doing something tangible, and reconnecting with reality through your body. So here's your final challenge. The next time your mind feels like it's about to collapse, use your hands. Create something. Draw, cook, repair something. Anything, as long as it's hands-on. Who knows? As you clear the clutter in your mind, you might even discover a hidden talent. And if not, at the very least, you'll reclaim something so many people have forgotten, that to calm your mind. Sometimes you just need to touch life with your own hands. Now remember, training your mind to stay calm isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a conscious choice you make every time you decide not to explode with anger. Not to get dragged down by fear. Not to drown in mental chaos. Because every time you choose calm, you're choosing freedom. You're taking back control of your life from the inside out. And that, my friend, is the difference between merely surviving at the mercy of life's storms, or truly living with inner power. If you've made it this far, drop a comment. I choose to live in calm. Because that one choice can change everything. And hey, don't forget to hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. And give this video a like so you won't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out the playlist on your screen. It's packed with stories, wisdom, and ideas to help you walk through life with more clarity and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together.